What's going on, YouTubers? Dustin Parres coming back at you one more time. Today we're gonna make a pumpkin pie. All right, but since this is my YouTube channel, we're gonna make a boozy pumpkin pie, and we're gonna use Daviess County French oak finished bourbon whiskey to do it. All right, the French oak is gonna add a lot of vanillas and tannins and cinnamons and baking spices into the whiskey, which then we're gonna add that into our pie. So it is a perfect balance of sweet spice that's gonna really set off your pumpkin pie. So first thing we want to do to get this pumpkin ready to go into the oven to bake is first we got to get rid of the stem, then we're going to cut it in half. So in order to get rid of this stem, we're just going to slowly and carefully, all right, use the tip of our knife to cut out this stem. As we do that, then we'll be able to take that out, and then we'll be able to cut it in half. Ta-da! All right, now that we're done using this knife, we're actually going to taste our whiskey. So, again, like I said, this is Kentucky Straight Bourbon Whiskey. Luxro Distillers actually uses a blend of their wheated mash bill bourbon, which you'll be familiar with David Nicholson 1843 and the Rebel brands, and then they also use some of their rye mash bill bourbon, which is going to be your Ezra Brooks and your David Nicholson Reserve. So cheers to two great whiskeys coming together to make one great whiskey, and then a French oak finish. I think that's going to go perfect in this pumpkin pie. All right, so we've halved our pumpkin. Now we got to get rid of all the guts. Got to get rid of all these seeds and all this stuff. Remember, you put this in a bowl, run a little water in it. You can separate these seeds, make yourself some really nice toasted pumpkin seeds. I like to just use a nice clean spoon, and then it's really just a matter of scraping and doing that. So what you really want is to end up with a pumpkin that looks like this. So now that it's nice and clean, we're going to get ready to bake it. In order to bake this, we're going to turn our oven on to 450 degrees. You want to bake it nice and hot, all right, and then put it on a sheet pan face down. Some people tell you add a little water in there. Some people don't. It's completely up to you. I know a lot of baking is very precise in science, and you know, just like making cocktails behind a bar, you want everything to be the same all the time. What I like best about something fun like this pumpkin pie is you get to play a lot of jazz and do things the way you think they should be done. So now that I got my pumpkin cleaned, I'm just going to throw it right in the oven, and we're going to bake it for about 40 minutes. What you're really looking for is for it to be soft to the touch, be able to put a fork right through it. All right, so about 45 minutes in the oven, and look, we got it nice and soft. I've let this cool as well, and look at how easily the skin and the pumpkin separate. All right, that's exactly what you want. So now that we got that, we're going to actually take our blender, and we're going to put this right in there. All right. So now the pumpkin is in the blender. We're ready to blend. This is going to take about 5 minutes to really get it to exactly where you want it to go. All right. So I like to turn mine on low and then turn it up a little bit. So we've worked our pumpkin through the blender, and look, everything is nice and smooth. That's exactly what we were looking for. So now that we have made our own homemade pumpkin puree, we're ready to make our own homemade pumpkin pie. You ready? Let's do this. We're ready to mix. So in a bigger bowl, we're going to take our step 1, 2 cups of our pumpkin puree. Okay, a normal sugar pumpkin make you probably a little more than 2 cups, but you want to do 2 cups for this recipe. Then we're going to add 1 can of a condensed or evaporated milk. All right, I like to use the 2%. That's how I keep this body the way it is after eating all of this pie. So, but we need our milk, 3/4 cup of brown sugar, and then 2 eggs. I would like to thank Moondance Farms for providing me with these beautiful farm fresh eggs. Now that we have all that going on, now we're going to need to stir it all up. I like to break my yolks up a little bit and then do this. You could use your KitchenAid, your hand mixer, do all that. I like the zen of stirring. I enjoy it very much, so I like to hand stir my mix. We're going to mix up all those ingredients right before we start adding the real flavor. The flavor is going to come from some cinnamon, half a tablespoon, some pumpkin pie spice. This is Durkee pumpkin pie spice. I've made my own. I've used others. There's all kinds of things that you can do. Really, I think a pumpkin pie spice right out of the canister is going to work out perfect. So we're going to do a half a tablespoon of that as well. All right. And then we're going to add 2 other things that you won't find in most pumpkin pie recipes. All right. I like to add vanilla to all of my baked goods because I think it's absolutely delicious. Not even going to measure it, just going to pour some in there. And then I'm going to do the exact same with this bourbon, all right? You want to do maybe a tablespoon or something like that, but you know, we're putting this in the oven, so it's going to bake out. You're really just going to add some really, really nice flavor into that. So we got everything all mixed up. We got a lovely custard, the egg, the dairy, the pumpkin, and the spice, all right? And again, the spice, you can really add a lot of whatever you want. We decided to add vanilla and bourbon into ours. Sometimes I like to add espresso into this. Sometimes I like to add cocoa powder into this and do like a chocolate kind of pie. As far as the flavoring goes, it's really up to you. I do highly recommend this blend of wheated and rye bourbon with a French oak finish. This is really gonna mingle all of our pie spice flavors together perfectly. All right, so now whenever I make my pies, this is not a cooking channel, all right, I'm going to use a Keebler Ready crust. I love graham cracker, so we're already ready already. So I'm going to use this filling to fill this pie crust, and we're going to bake it in the oven. The one actual good baking tip I have for you when it comes to making a pumpkin pie is you want to cook it for 20 minutes on high heat, about 450, and then another 20 minutes on a low heat, about 350. That's going to keep your pumpkin pie from cracking. If you really want to know the real nitty-gritty of how to make a really nice from scratch pumpkin pie, including a crust and all that, check out my friend Whedon Sardines. He's got a fantastic video of how to make a blue ribbon pumpkin pie 100% from scratch. He even makes his own evaporated milk, which is something I didn't even know you could do. So he's got all the real tricks to help you make a gold medal pumpkin pie. Me, I'm here to just tell you, don't be afraid to put bourbon in your pumpkin pie. And use this bourbon because it's the finest. That being said, if you do go ahead and watch my friend's video, Whedon Sardines, he's got a fantastic pumpkin pie. Drop him a note and let him know that we're going to be making a lot of Boozy cookies here this holiday season, and let him know that we should do some work together. So I'm looking forward to showing you guys all kinds of great baking tips this season, and they're all going to have bourbon. But if you really want to step up your baking game, Whedon Sardines is the place to go. Now, let's get this pie filled in the oven and get ready to have dessert. So there it is. We baked it 20 minutes at 450, 20 minutes at 350. The custard's nice and set. Since I didn't use a homemade crust, I didn't have to worry about it burning or anything like that. We now have Boozy pumpkin pie, a guaranteed hit for yourself, because that's who I'm eating with today. So, cut myself a piece of this. My next video is going to teach you how to make some St. Brennan's whipped cream. But today, since I'm just ready to eat pie, we're going to use some Ready Whip. There's no shame in that either. So here is piece of pumpkin pie, little bit of Ready Whip, just for funsies. All right. Cheers, you guys. Remember, like, subscribe, keep this content coming, and hopefully me and my friend Whedon Sardines will show you how to make some Boozy Christmas cookies this year too. Cheers, y'all.